Great. Thank you everyone for joining in. Can you hear me? Need to
Yes, we can.
confirm. Beautiful, beautiful. So we'll wait for a few more folks to join the call, and then we'll begin. But just also need to confirm that the panelists are also on as well. And we'll be able to start in the next 3 or so minutes. Let's say 5 minutes. We'll be able to start in the next 5 minutes or so. And then just to note that as we are waiting for the others to join in, just like a few housekeeping, please make sure that for the folks who are going to have the video on, we'll have the hosts, the co-host, the students who will be speaking, and everyone else, I just request if you put yourself on mute, and then if you also turn your camera off, so that we're able to at least have the panelists and people will be talking to today on video. So if a video is on, I just request you put it off, and then we'll have the panelists have the video on. So as we wait for the others to join, we will be sharing a poll just to at least have a pulse check-in and see how everyone is doing. Please take time to fill in the poll so that we're able to know where you're logging in from, why you decided to join the call, and how you're feeling today. Let's take a few minutes to answer that. Yeah, if you're joining in the call right now, welcome. We're just taking a few minutes to answer the poll, and then we'll be able to begin in the next 2 or so minutes. So thank you so much for joining. Please take a few minutes to answer.
Hello, Rob.
Yes.
Should I just admit everyone that's coming in?
Yes, please.
Okay, no problem.
Could you do it from your phone?
Yeah. You want me to use my Shandis?
Use your laptop, right?
Must I use my laptop?
Yeah.
Beautiful. So I think we can start the session right now. So thank you everyone for making the time. I can see the poll results are out. You can see that there's a significant number of us who are calling, who are logged into the call from Nairobi, and then Johannesburg as well. Um, the most popular reason why we joined the call is to build knowledge, which is beautiful and nice. And a lot of us are feeling, like on a scale of 1 to 7, I can see that we are at a 5, which is not too shabby. I'm happy to see that no one is at a 1 or 2. And for the folks on 3, 7%, I'm hoping that by the end of this call, at least will uplift your mood. You get to like a 5. So that's exciting. And yeah, we're seeing also a couple of people on 6 and 7, so that's beautiful. Um, so thank you so much. So I'll start the session. Um, so first of all, so Philip, could you put yourself on mute? Sorry, thank you. Yeah, so I'll start. Of course, this is our 4th webinar that we have hosted as Novo Pioneer. And just to give a lot of you some context, so Novo Pioneer Connect is a gathering of the Novo Pioneer community where we come together just to share stories, especially during these tumultuous times. So mostly we want to at least keep tabs with what our students are up to from different corners of, like the continent. And then also touch base with other different stakeholders. So for today's session, the theme is Life After Novo Pioneer. And there's so many reasons why this is exciting. Just to mention that this week on the 7th, Novo Pioneer turned 6 years old. So a very big happy birthday to, like the Novo Pioneer community. It's been 6 years since we first launched. And through those 6 years, I feel like the journey has been very fulfilling for each and every person within the community. And I feel like for today's session, it's particularly special because we will be touching base with our pioneer group of students from both Kenya and South Africa. And in every sense of the word, these students have been, they've taken that front row seat at, like being pioneers from the time the school launched. And even looking at the time, they have graduated school and gone into the real world, there's a lot of change that has happened, with, like the current, COVID pandemic, and also just economic times, right? So it's even like a much more it's even there's that sense of agency to find out, what they're doing, how they've been able to adapt to the changes, and things like that. So today we have 3 students. One of them is from Kenya, and just to give you some background, the graduating school from the graduating class of 2019 from Kenya was an all boys class. So that's why we have one young man who will be talking to us. And the graduating class of 2019 from South Africa was a co-ed, was a mixed gender school. So that's why we have a young man and a young lady on the call to talk to us today. So without even wasting much time, so I'll start by introducing Philip. So Philip, just introduce yourself to us. Tell us a bit about yourself, and then we'll go to Jabu and then Maseho.
Okay. Hi everyone. My name is Philip, a graduate of Nova and an alumni of Nova still, class of 2019. Yeah, and
Beautiful.
I'm excited today to talk to you guys about my life after Nova and how it has changed, how Nova has impacted me even right now. And I'm glad to share my story with you guys. Thank you.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Philip. What about you, Jabu?
Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining this Zoom call. I hope you're going to learn a lot. I'm Jabum Twa, and I was in the class of 2019. Right now, I'm at WITS doing my law degree, and I'm really excited to be here in this opportunity to have a discussion about how our lives have been after Nova Pioneer and also how we have adapted.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Jabulani. Masejo? Hello, is Masejo on? Interesting. I thought I saw Masejo online, but I think
It was a
when
moment ago, Rob.
it
She's
was
probably dropped off.
she's probably dropped off. Okay, beautiful. So when she gets a chance to join us, we'll give her a chance to introduce herself, and we'll be able to just get to know more about her. So
Hello everyone.
hello, Maseko, are you on?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, could you please put your video on?
Hello everyone. How are you?
Maseko's bandwidth seems to be a bit on the lower side, but not to worry about it. We will, as she tries and sort that, we'll get back to that. But I'd like by starting with the first question, which is more around the fact of like, yes, it's been almost a year since our students graduated. And this question, first of all, would go to Philip from the Kenya side. So please, Philip, take us through, how it has been since you graduated. What are you up to? And I'm sure with all these changes, coming with COVID-19, that has also affected you. So please let us know, like how your life has changed in terms of, the things you're pursuing. And then we'll go to Maseko. We'll go to Jabu and then Maseko. So Philip, take it over.
Okay. After Nova, I decided to work on some projects before COVID came out. And one of the projects I started with was making a robotic kit for every child. But when Corona came, I was not able to finish, but I'm working on that. Yeah, currently I'm doing some projects. Yeah, two concerns Corona, and one is making an automated hand washing system. Yeah, that will be seen in this video. I've also been working on another project called Clean Kibera. The project includes collecting waste in Kibera, separating it so that food waste, organic, is going to be used for making gas, methane gas for cooking, and then the rest can be recycled, including plastic, and be used to mold things. I've also been doing another project on mental health. Yeah, I'm working with a team from EFAC. The project includes coming up with a group of mentors who can be helping our children during this hard time. As we can see, many have been affected by COVID, and many are mentally affected. Like some of them, it's hard to adapt to home. It's been like close to 7 months at home, and so I know it's difficult. And we are working towards coming up with this project and mentoring our children, our students. Sorry. Yes, I've also worked on another project which I was collaborating with the local tailors at my place to make a mask for my people. And right now we just want to talk to the government to the local government to see if we can get some funds so that we can be able to make more and impact the lives of many. Yeah, that's what I've been doing. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Phil. It seems like you've been up to a lot. And before we go to Jabu, I'd like to do like a small segue. Because of the challenges you're having getting Masejo, I forgot to introduce myself. So really sorry about that. My profuse apologies. My name is Robert Omondi, as you can see. I work in the external relations team at Novo Pioneer, and just by being in this role, I get to interact with a lot of students, mostly in Kenya. But then I also get the privilege of interacting with students in South Africa through seeing some of the work they're doing. So as Jabu is going to introduce himself, I'd like to mention how I got to find out about Jabu. So I think in the first few weeks of, in the last few weeks of June, there was a lot of, conversations going on online about gender-based violence in South Africa. And I came across a video on Instagram, and it was very pleasing for me to see that the people who were starting these conversations were actually our former students. So Jabu was at the front line together with Masejo. So Jabu, I wouldn't want to take the spotlight from you. Please tell us more about what you've been up to since you graduated from Novo Pioneer, and then even what you're doing right now. Jabu, you're on mute.
Oh, sorry, Emma, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you.
So thank you for that lovely intro, Robert. I am very flattered by what you said, but I also think it's our responsibility to be discussing these issues that we face in society, and also really important for this to go on, for this movement to go on, because we don't want to have a society where women are feeling unsafe all the time or are being violated all the time. It's not a good look. It shouldn't be that way. Women deserve way more than that. So yeah, in South Africa, it's quite bad at the moment. Even though the media doesn't even speak about it a lot, you just hear of one case and then you don't hear about it again, but it actually happens really very regularly. So yeah, thank you for watching that video, first of all. And to those that don't know me, my name is Jabu Mtoa, and I was in Nova Pioneer on Monday from 2015, which was a founding group. So I'm really proud to have been part of that group. And I left in 2019 after writing my AS levels. In the same year, which I served as chair of the Student Leadership Council, which is something that I'm really proud and grateful to have held a position of such prestige, really. And right now I am doing online learning while I was supposed to be in my first year at Wits. Well, I am right now, but not physically. It still feels like I'm on that long 3-month holiday after my AS level exam. I mean, I only spent and then COVID-19 strikes, and actually something that's noteworthy is that one of the first cases in South Africa were flagged in Wits, which was actually true. One of the medical students at Wits contracted the virus very early on. to the epidemic, and that was really feeling really anxious for me, for myself, for everyone, so I left quite quickly, and then I went home, and I've been here ever since, just doing my curriculum, my course, which is law, which I'm really enjoying, and yeah, just improving myself every day.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing, Jabu, and also just being vulnerable to talk about, how you're feeling. Because I think like it's really important to also like acknowledge it's a very challenging time. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
So yeah. So the next question is around how that transition has looked like, and I'd like to throw this back to Philip because Philip, first of all, from what you've mentioned, you're really working on a lot of projects, right? And you mentioned that there's a set idea you had when you graduated school, and it was like, yes, you're going to work on a robotics kit for children, and then COVID came, and you had to pivot and do something else. So please just take us through that. How the transition has been like. Has it been challenging? And what was your thought process in deciding the projects you're choosing to embark on? So Philip, take us through that.
Talking about my transition from Nova, first of all, let me talk about the skills I gained. Nova has really taught me so many skills, especially in tech. I was able to utilize the facilities and learn a lot. And around that time, even before KCSE, the exam, I had come up with an idea to come up with a robotic kit that could be assembled by any child and controlled by remote control, the normal TV remote. Um, the idea came up when I was thinking. So for many kids, you find that they go buy robotics instead of making their own, and that means they don't gain much, unlike when they do it alone. And so I decided to come up with that project, but I'll finish up. Probably in 2 months I'll be done with it, since I'm working on other projects that are really taking time. But hopefully by the end of this year, I'll have come up with a prototype of the project. Yeah, life out here has been quite challenging. Yeah, so many challenges, especially when it comes to managing time. Like it's really hard over here, and like you're not being followed around. No one is holding you accountable, so you are on your own in everything that you're doing, and so it's quite hard for me, and it has been challenging, but I'm still learning. And what I'm doing is set up alarms every time so that I hold myself accountable to whatever I'm doing and to manage time well. Yes.
Thank you so much, Philip. We'll get back to that more and just hear about the projects you've been working on, and also I have a video that I will showcase so that everyone gets to see that. I've just gotten a message that Masejo is back. So Masejo, if you can hear me, please introduce yourself and then take us through, like what you're doing now and what other projects you've been involved in since last year.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
We can hear
Yes.
you.
Hi, everyone. My name is Masoko Solomons, the future president of South Africa. So I am in year 13 this year. And so basically, the projects that I have engaged in, so I am quite big on service. So since last year, a couple of friends and I have embarked on a sanitary towel initiative in a school around Johannesburg, and we have managed to collect about 1,020 pads to give to the matriculant girls, because it was their last year. This year, during the pandemic, my family and I have decided to embark on a parcel drive. So we managed to collect to basically help 25 families in this during this difficult, trying time. Yeah, I've been quite grateful for my journey and to be a part of the Nova Pioneer team.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Masego, for that segue. And I will come back to what you've been working on and the key lessons you've learned from that, um, and um, and your achievements through that period. But I'd like to go to Jabu. Jabu, you mentioned that um, there've been a couple of challenges, of course, with the onset of COVID-19. Um, I now want you to take us through how you settled on law as a as a choice, to pursue. And then, you mentioned WIT, but, some of us in Kenya might not know the full name of WIT. So please let us know, like, which university is that? What was your thought process as you're deciding on which school you're going to go to, and the key things you're looking to get out of that program? Like, why was with the right choice for you?
Thank you, Robert. So from June, July of 2019, I was applying to different universities. I think I applied to 5 universities, and really the top 3 universities, which were my top choices or preferences, were the University of Witwatersrand, the University of Cape Town, and the University of Pretoria. And so for me to get into those universities, I already knew that I'd really have to do really well in my level exams, which I was also quite touchy about, but came through quite well. And then I was lucky enough to be accepted at Wits University in January, and it was actually one of my last applications to be responded to. So that was a very scary time for me, because I was under the impression that if Wits don't accept me, then I'd have to find another plan. But all went well, which I'm really grateful about, and my first choice actually was accepted, so I was over the moon about that. Got into orientation, all was going really well. I'm excited to start university in my first year. And then 2 months later, COVID hits. Straight away, I go home, and then we were actually the first university to start online learning. That's us being pioneers, I'd say. We weren't that prepared at the time, but it's turned out to be the right decision by the university. And obviously all the universities have started online learning, so that's how it really is right now. And what I'd like to get out of the program and why I really chose it, I chose it because it'll give me a lot of versatility around different industries, because I'm not really set on one interest that I have. I have many different interests. And I think I know that lawyers are needed in every single industry that you can think of. So that will give me the opportunity to learn more in different industries and be really versatile and flexible, because I think in the global economy that is coming right now from all this change, because we've had a reset now that COVID-19 has come to us. I think that in this economy, the upcoming economy will need to be really flexible. Work requirements are going to look different. Businesses and companies are going to be looking for different employees with different skill sets. And so I think I'm really well placed to do well in the future if I get a degree of such prestige, and also from one of the best universities in Africa. So yeah, I've been doing that. It's been slightly disrupted by COVID-19, like anyone else is. But I've managed it quite well. The transition's been good. The standard of work is quite high, but I was already expecting that from the time I applied, and I was really prepared to outdo myself academically, and that is going quite well at the moment. So despite all this really negative aura about the world right now, I'm feeling really positive, and I'm feeling positive and always optimistic.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. I'd like to maybe also shift the conversation to Masejo. Masejo, could you just like tell us more about? I introduced Jabu by mentioning, the video. I reached out to you on Instagram after seeing the video. So tell us why you have felt the urgency to have certain conversations like that, like the one I saw in that video online. And then also, what have been some of the things that you've done? Yes, you've talked about like the food drive you did because of COVID. You've talked about, the sanitary towels, drive that you've done. So it's very, it seems like there's a very community centric approach to what you're doing. Could you just tell us more about that and what you're also looking to achieve and get out of your grade 13 once you do your A levels?
Sure. Okay, so I think the greater part of me wanting to be president and to be a politician is because I solely believe in social justice, and I believe things, a lot of issues relating to the economy, a lot of issues relating to social issues that we face, such as poverty, lack of education in certain areas, malnutrition, and such, are mainly because of the type of leadership that we have, so I am quite passionate about leading, but in a very compassionate way. I am a very compassionate person and I cry all the time, but I think, so many times we actually um blanket the leadership, or being a politician or being the president, with a lot of being stern and hard and firm, but I definitely believe that if you can connect to people, if you can connect to people through social issues, then that's what makes us relate. That's what makes your leadership skill a different one, because you put yourself in the shoes of others, and that's what I think. I'd say that I'm definitely a servant leader because I love doing putting others before fulfilling my needs or my wants. So I think that has made me more dynamic in terms of merging two of my greatest passions and my interests together, for the greater good of Africa, for the greater good of girls in Africa, to have a different face, to have a different image of what leadership looks like. I hope I've answered your question.
Yes, you have really answered the question. And I love the fact that you've mentioned something about servant leadership. So it's very clear to me, and I think everyone else on the call, that you're leaning more towards service, right?
Yes.
And there's one question though, like I'd like to hear from you. I'd like to
Hmm.
hear you answer. Is what do you aim to get out of grade 13?
What do I aim?
What do you aim to
Sorry.
get out? What do you aim to get out of grade 13? By the time you're graduating from grade 13, what is it
Yeah.
that you're looking to get out of that whole experience?
Um, Firstly, I think I'd say success. Um, sometimes I feel we're placed in uncomfortable situations or uncomfortable positions where you have to tackle, or you're now in a position where you have to do something that you weren't initially planning to do. But I've chosen to view that in a way that has that will lead me forward, in a sense where I believe that I this wasn't my plan, but I'm so content with what is happening right now, and I'm only trying to just make the best out of the situation, to put in more efforts to do really well, and to take it further, you know, to move forward with where I am. And yeah, it can only get better, I believe.
Beautiful. I really love your optimism,
Yes.
Masako. I must say that I really love that. So shifting the lens back to Philip. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to play a video of what Philip has been working on, especially as it relates to COVID-19 and the relief efforts him and his team have been, taking a front row seat at solving. So I just hope you can be able to hold on. So let me just expand the screen and add the volume a bit. Sorry, like there'll be a bit of screeching sound, but just pay attention to, how this thing works, and then Philip will talk to us about it. Beautiful. Trigger the sensor. Then the soap is dispensed, then which gives him 15 seconds to lather properly as recommended by World Health Organization. Then the alarm system notifies him that he has 5 seconds left to wash his hands. Water comes out. Then he has 15 seconds to wash, rinse his hands properly. So the main merit of the system is that it conserves water. Then we have 5 seconds for the water to go. Then the display system tells us to dry hands and keep safe. Beautiful. I hope you've been able to see the video and hear everything.
Yeah, let me share. So
Okay.
the automated hand washing system, we developed it in response to COVID-19. The system washes hands and disinfects hands automatically. You don't have to touch the taps unlike the manual taps. So when you approach the system, as you have seen, there's a sensor that when you put your hands below it, it triggers the system. Soap is dispensed, and then it gives you 15 seconds to lather your hands properly. Above that box, you have seen there's an LED display, LCD display, which counts the 15 seconds for you. So you lather your hands, you wash your hands properly, and then 5 seconds to time, a beeper goes on that tells you now you need to finish up and move on to the next tab, which is for rinsing your hands. So after the 5 seconds, you move to the next tab. Water is dispensed automatically again, and then you rinse your hands, and that's how the system works. And at the end, there's a message to keep safe. Yeah, the system conserves water, soap, and also ensures there is no risk of contracting the virus, especially around the tap areas. Yeah, and also we have developed another system similar to that, which is a box, which is also automated. That a box that you can connect it to your at your house, to maybe in the kitchen or anywhere like around any tap area. So if you don't want the whole barrel, the one that you have seen, you can simply get the box, small box. It's like a book the size of a small, let's say a novel. Yeah, you can connect it to your taps at your home or anywhere. And we plan to take this project very far. So
Beautiful.
you have two options for yes. So
Yeah,
we
no,
have
no, no.
two.
Just finish. Just finish.
Yeah, so we have two options for you. The barrel, which mostly will be used in high traffic areas. maybe at bus stations or schools. For the box, it can be used in the maybe at home, also schools and hotels. Yeah, and that's the project I've been working on.
Wow, beautiful, Philip. This is really interesting because from what I'm seeing, you're combining artificial intelligence. So this is, uh, I think it's called the Internet of Things, where you're using different, hardware, but they're sort of like
Yes.
they're speaking to each other. So take us through. First of all, are you doing this project alone? How have you been able to get it running, and who are you targeting with this? Because you've mentioned something about conserving water and the use of this in high traffic areas like bus stations and schools. And we know there's some of these communities that don't have water. So who's the end person? And have you gotten some traction in terms of getting this to the user? And how has that been?
Yeah, so I've been working with master students from Nazarene University, and so we have been working together, and also design thinking expert from ANU. She's a professor at ANU, and so she's the one who. So the team is a group of 5 members. Yeah, and so we have been working together for in the project. Our target areas mostly includes the high traffic areas. So for example, for Kibera, I know it may be, so the slum area, I know it might be hard for them to maybe take the procedure to like use it well, hand washing, like a tap area. So instead of the barrel, we have like a tap area where there are so many taps, and then we're going to connect the small box that you have seen. Yeah, and that's the yeah, and so the people in the slum are our target market, and also the people in the refugee camps. So the refugees, as we all know, those people really suffer a lot when it comes to access to water, clean water for washing hands. And so we are working together to first of all get funding to fund our project, and then collaborate with organizations such as Red Cross. There's also an organization in Red Cross, and also there's another organization in Kakuma refugee camp that distributes water. So we are working together with those two groups to make sure our system is installed there and that the refugees are able to access water, wash their hands, and still conserve it. So actually, the system is in such a way it recycles the water that you have used. So it has a filtration inside. So once you use the water, since it's only soap, and after washing your hands, the virus has been um, they have been, let's say, they have been killed. We recycle the same water and use it for the system, and the water is pure. Like there's no virus. Yeah.
Wow, that's really inspiring to hear. So please, as we continue on with the conversations, please let us know how we can support the project. If there's a campaign you have, or if there's anything that you're doing, like please let us know, and we'll be able to see how we can support. And then, sorry about that. I can see there's a lot of like encouraging conversation, encouraging messages coming here. I can see your former teacher is excited that your former teacher is excited that you're using Arduino in your project. So we're really proud of you, Philip. And actually, just on a different note,
Yes.
currently, yes, you're working on this project, but what does the future look like for you? Are you planning to go to university? And if so, what is it that you're looking out to, or what is it that you're looking to get out of that project? I mean, we've talked to Masejo, we're seeing she's really focused on service and leadership and community. Jabu is focused on, like using the legal background to see how he can best fit into the world and how it's changing. But we're seeing a lot of also like community work involved in your project. So what does the future look like for you? What have you planned?
So this year, I'm planning to apply for some US universities. Yes, I'm planning to apply for US university. On my list, I have MIT, which I give my first priority. MIT. There's also Princeton. So I plan to also gain something from these projects. I plan also to show the university that I have really done something, and in my application, I'm going to use them. Um, and probably by after Corona, let's say hopefully the things are going to go back to normal. Hopefully by end of this year. Yeah, so I'm planning to start my application. Yes. I didn't.
Wow.
But I didn't hear your last question.
No, the question was essentially it's so clear that you're focused on technology.
Yes.
So the last question is just involving like now that you're applying to Princeton and MIT, is this something that you're going to continue on at that level? Or you're just open to trying out new things?
No, it's not something I'm going to stop. I'm so interested in tech, and that's why I first of all chose those universities. As you know, MIT is like the place where you want to extend your tech skills. Yeah, and hopefully, if I get the chance to go there and stuff, I'll come up with even more ideas. Because there you're going to meet many people who have come up also with their projects. Yeah, and by working together, I plan to do more. Yeah,
Beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing that, Philip.
you're
So
welcome.
for now, for this session, I'd like to see if there's any question, across the panel. Masejo, Jabu, Philip, do you have any questions for each other before we open the room for like questions from the students and families who have joined the call today?
I have a question for Philip, Robert.
Okay, sure. Go ahead and ask.
Firstly, Philip, I can't explain, I can't comprehend how inspiring the work and the projects you are doing is. What you're doing is absolutely amazing. I just want to find out really what drives you on, to do those projects, to go the extra mile to make sure that other people benefit from your creations. I'd also want to know who's sponsoring you, and how do you get funding to make sure that these projects that you are working on are a success.
Yeah, thank you for the compliment. What inspires me is first of all the environment. So in Kenya, most of us, you find that we want to do something, but due to the environment, you're like, no, I can't make it. And so what inspires me is my environment, and I want to do more that show people that yes, you can do it. It doesn't matter the resources you have. It doesn't matter the resources whether they are small or what, but you can do it. Yeah, and my sponsors are Educate EFAC. This effort they really support me in my work, and also Nova. Yeah, I work with Miss Mungai, and she opens this. She's always willing to share opportunities that come along with me, and I can say she's also my sponsor. Yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing that. I hope Miss Munga is on the call so that she can get to bask in the joy of that. But thank you so much for that answer and question, Babu. Masejo, do you have any question?
No, I do not, but I definitely just want to commend the people who are on the call, and I'm just going to say that I am proud of you, Jabu. Lovely to meet you, Philip, and I'm hoping that we can definitely form a network and do greater together.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. So now I'm opening it up to questions from the audience. I've already received one question. So I'd like to ask everyone on the call, if you have any questions, please just send them through to us, whether they're directed to Philip, Jabu, myself, or Masejo, and we'll be able to answer. So the first question is from Shakira. Shakira Mwakitawa, who's currently a Form 4 student at Nova Pioneer. And this question is directed to Philip. So Shakira is asking, how are you able to balance your academics and your passion for technology when you're preparing for KCSE? And something that I should mention is that Philip graduated at the top of his class, in KCSE. So he was among the best
Snaps,
students
Philip.
within the county. Yeah. I feel like your insight on this would be super helpful for a lot of the students who are in Form 4 right now, who are looking to sit their final exams next year. So Philip, take us through how you're able to balance that, academics and your passion for tech.
Yeah, to answer your question, first of all, while in school, we all know that you have to balance maybe two or more things. The first one which must be there is study, like your education. So what I did to do to balance my passion for tech and education is working with people or with two different people. So there's this group of people who are who really uh, who who read a lot, and there's this other group of people who really love projects. And by joining those two groups, you are able to balance. Like, when it's time for to read, you're going to go with this group. When it's time for projects, you're going to go with this group. And then at the end, you find that you're balancing the two. Because when you are alone, maybe you will be focused on maybe just reading instead of balancing the two. So I work at school. I work with two groups. There's Givyomi, yeah, and Sankara group. So I was working with them. And for projects, there's Napo and Isaac. Yeah, so I was able to balance the two since, like, on this side I'll be held accountable, and then on this side I'll be held accountable, and so I was able to balance the two. Yes.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for bringing in also the fact that you've mentioned the people, so that the students from Kenya who are on the call can actually see how realistic it is. Because when you mention an Napo, I'm sure Shakira knows an equivalent of Napo in her life currently in school. When you mention Gidiomi, or Sankara, they are able to know so that they can also hold themselves accountable. So thank you so much for that, Philip. There's another question here, and it is to all the students. And this is from Musa, who was your former teacher, Masejo and Jabu. So Musa is asking, how has Novo Pioneer best equipped you for this chapter of your lives? Be it university, be it grade 13, be it the projects you're working on, Philip, and even looking to go to MIT and Princeton. How has Novo Pioneer prepared you for this level? So whoever is ready to answer. It's directed to all of you.
I can answer. Can I answer first?
Yes, sure.
Okay. So I think, as anyone who is a friend of Nova Pioneer, and everyone that knows Nova Pioneer in and out, is the fact that Nova Pioneer offers a world-class education, and I think that was the fundamental tool that Nova Pioneer provided me in my time there. So that is very important in order for me to, manage the the standard of work in university and onwards in tertiary education. I think second, and also very, very, very important, is the values and the culture that Nova Pioneer ingrained in me. You know, I very, very much am uh, using and letting the Nova Pioneer culture principles really guide my life. You know, high expectations, always growing. You know, those ideas, those concepts that we've seen at that time have been really beneficial in terms of me doing well in my academics, doing well in my personal life as well. So if there's something that was really imperative out of those two, I think it's the culture part, the values that the school ingrained in me, and all the experiences that I experienced there, all the people, you know, that have given me advice there, anyone that is a Noveneer, whatever word they've said to me has, you know, always inspired me and pushed me on to be the best person I can be. So I think the environment too is important. Excellent environment. At our time, the school was very smaller and more intimate, and so everyone knew each other in a way. But also that environment, that warmth that we had, you know, it'll stay with me forever, and it'll impact me in my life and my thinking for as long as I can imagine, really.
Yeah. Thank you so much for mentioning that, Jabu. Yeah, it's beautiful to hear that. What about you, Masejo?
Well, for me, I think it's my answer is very much aligned with what Jabu has just mentioned. But I definitely would like to delve deeper into the connections that we have um, formed and forged along the journey. um, I've met a lot of amazing people who I still speak to now, regardless of the fact that they've left or I'm so happy to actually see most actually on the call right now. But I think that has helped me realize and nurture relationships, because I believe for our growth, for the greater part of our careers, for the greater part of our journeys later on in life, we definitely need connections, and we definitely need to continue to forge those relationships, because I believe that as much as everything else is as important, such as academics and stuff like that, the greater good that fulfills one is relationships and connections and communication amongst loved ones. So I definitely believe that I think the greatest gift that I have been gifted with by going to Nova Pioneer, initially Pioneer to Nova Pioneer, has been great relationships and connections, definitely, which I do not take for granted at all.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing. What about you, Philip?
Yeah, for me, I'll say Nova Pioneer prepared me in terms of offering opportunities for me and being a project-based school. Since from Form 1, I don't know whether that's grade 9, we started doing so many projects, and those really inspired me, and they made the education at Nova interesting, because you're not just focusing on
Seems like we've lost Philip. Okay,
can
maybe.
remember.
Oh, sorry. Philip, we
Yeah,
lost you for a hot minute. Could you kindly repeat what you're saying?
what I've just said.
Yes, kindly repeat. We had lost you.
Oh, sorry. I'm saying
Oh no. Okay, I think we can come back to Philip. We've lost him. We'll just get back to him. There's a question here for Jabu, and it's from our students in Kenya, Paul and Karen. And the question is, what difference have you seen between you and your peers at WITS? just by the sheer fact that you're from Nova Pioneer?
That's a really that's a great question, but also very difficult to answer properly, because really my social life and my networking that I'd started at Wits, getting to know new people, getting to know what they like and what their values are. It was really hindered by COVID-19, because I only had like 2 months. And actually in the first month, first week rather, I was quite introverted, I was still getting used to the space. Um, and so factors like that would make me a very bad source to answer that question. But I think one difference I can see, if I compare myself to my contemporaries at Wits, is that there's a very
Sorry.
there's a huge difference between us when it comes to our work rate. I for one used to go to the library almost every single day to study. Most people, obviously, they have different timetables, they have different priorities to me. But people that I knew at that time that I had met would rather go out on the day, or they chill at the Matrix, or have a nice burger at one of the shops on campus. So I think when it comes to priorities, really, I think that's one difference I've seen. But again, I can't really dig on into that question, because I haven't had a lot of time to really get to know new people at Wits.
Beautiful. Thank you. So I think you've really captured the essence of it. And thank you so much for taking a job at that. We have Philip back. So Philip, you had already mentioned that the impact the project-based learning has had on you. And I think you're getting into examples of, other ways that the Nova Pioneer experience has aided you to be successful at the current stage you're in. So Philip, please take it over.
Sorry, I didn't get your question.
So the question, no, it's just a repeat of what you're saying. You're already started talking about, like the project-based learning, and you're talking about examples. So just finish.
Yeah, I was saying about Nova, how Nova has prepared me. Yeah. So as I was saying, Nova prepared me such that it's a project-based school, such that you don't not only focus on your academics but also other things that you have. So for me, it really prepared me through projects that we started doing since from Form 1 all the way up to around Form 4. Yeah, and another thing was opportunities, and there were so many opportunities at Nova. I remember last year, while still in Form 4, my last year in high school, I I was able to go to. I was accepted by Andela for a 1 year for a 6-month program. Yeah, Andela is a program that works with Google, inspiring young developers. And that opportunity really opened my eyes, and I really got inspired. And that aspect has made me feel like Nova really prepared me for what I'm doing right now. Yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for that addition. There's a question from Faith Minded, who's a Form 4 student, a candidate, and it's like, how do you ensure that you stay grounded in the culture that Nova Pioneer instilled in you, and what are you doing to impact others with that culture in order to make a change? So this is mostly to Jabu and Philip, because you are already, like outside, and then Masejo, if you want to answer that, you can also just jump in. But how do you ensure that you've stayed grounded to like the culture, and how are you ensuring that you're paying it forward, so that even when you're speaking about servant leadership or greater together or high expectations, like it has to move to other people as well, like it beats the point if it's just about you. Yeah. So how have you been able to spread that?
I think I was. I'd
Okay.
like to answer that.
Yes, yes,
Well,
sir.
I think I really want to channel the thought process into being, how this has impacted us personally, in the sense where I'm still at Nova Pioneer, but I do engage with people outside of Nova Pioneer, and I think for me, learning and understanding certain cultures has shaped me and molded me to be the person that I am today. So I feel, it's so important because it becomes a part of who you are. And if that becomes a part of your DNA, you are able to then engage and teach other people, because being in Nova Pioneer or not being in Nova Pioneer, you still get the opportunity to engage with other people. And I believe that teaches people who want to learn about certain cultures to because I feel, once you actually engage with people along the way, things that they like about you, they'll start to adopt and apply up based on their lives. So I think, in my lane, that's how I still employ the culture principles, and yeah, and I think mostly use to impact others and inspire others.
Beautiful, inspire. I like that word. I really like it. What about you, Philip? Because I think the work you're doing, with the innovations you're coming up with, involves a lot of teamwork. So how are you paying forward? How are you reminding yourself about, the culture principles? So like, how are you ensuring that whatever you're doing is adhering to high expectations in a team setup, that you're greater together, and that you're also always growing in the project that you're working on, and you're also effecting that aspect of solutions first. So Philip, and how are you paying that forward to the other team members? Philip?
Yeah, for me, I basically say from the first time I met Mr. Tsuma, who used to be our principal, like he kept repeating those words, those culture principles, to a point like they became my habit. Like every time you're doing something, you're thinking, oh, is this solutions first? Is this what am I expecting? Like what are my goals? And is it servant, like who am I serving? Is it going to serve other people? And how do I ensure that like what I do today is improving daily? And that is what really has made me grow and also impact the life of others. And I like working in teams, and that's where I grow more and also share my skills with others. And that's how I'm able to employ the culture principles in whatever I'm doing. For example, in this project, I'm not working alone. I'm working with other team members. So in that aspect, there's that aspect of greater together. Like when you're doing something as a group, it will go far compared to when you're doing it alone. Yeah, for always growing is to ensure that in everything that we are doing, not only you but also those around you, like help them, like make sure that when you're moving, you're not only moving alone, you're moving as a team. And so throughout this process, I ensure that like what I've gained while when I go to work with another team, I make sure that I have taught them something. Yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for that very profound answer. Very, it touches all, the core things that, we're talking about. What about you, Jabu?
So with me, Robert, one of the most practical ways, I have created in order to stay grounded and always stay true to Nova culture was so at graduation in 2019, we were given the posters of our favorite culture principles. So what I did with that poster is that I stuck it up on the wall at my res where I live when I'm at university. And as part of my visualization and my meditation ritual in the morning, I used to repeat every single word on the poster. So the culture principle, high expectation, and then the little paragraph that says we set goals for ourselves and we make sure that we reach our goals. I can't really say it off my head right now, but something like that. And I used to say that to myself every single morning before I go to class. And I think those are the most one of the most practical ways, to keep yourself in the culture is to repeat it and almost make it an affirmation, which I really believe in. And yeah, so that was my favorite culture principle, and that's why I got that one, and that's why I say the paragraph every single morning to myself, and I am ready for the day with high expectations, super high ambitions, and also really high goal for myself and other people.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. I'm taking a cue from you. And I think I'll be reaching out for more pointers on how I can make sure that I'm incorporating that in every single, aspect of my life when I'm waking up and all that. And I'm sure everyone on the call is also paying attention. So thank you for that, Jabu. There's four more questions that I want to get to before we close. There's a question about how do our alumni connect? So just to mention that this is our first graduating class. And during school, they had opportunities to interact with each other, but it is very much our intention to make sure that we are building a platform where Maseho can be able to connect with Philip, Jabu can be able to connect with someone else. So we are in the works of creating an alumni network that will be very useful for the students in terms of, when you leave schools 5 years from now, we want, the intention is very much to make sure that the fire that is still burning in you, Jabu, like about the culture principle, you're able to share that with someone else and you're able to connect, right? So that at the end of the day, because, Nova Pioneer was started to impact the lives of families across Africa. And not just families, but also countries, changing the trajectories of countries. And those things cannot be done in a vacuum. You have to collaborate, right? And that's why we really focus on, like servant leadership and greater together and all those things. So it's very much our intention to make sure that the relationships that you built in school will be extended also to those ones, like in other countries. So there's no geographical boundaries, that are barring you people from interacting with each other. And I feel like this is just one of those. And this is not the last time we'll be hosting our alumni for a conversation. We'll be doing a lot of this. And the hope is that as you guys grow into your careers, into meaningful people in society, that you'll also be able to give back, and come back and inspire other students within the Nova Pioneer community. So I think I've answered that question. There's a question from a parent, Sindelo Seneda, and she's a current parent of a grade R student. She's saying that I'm assuming that it's a she. So Sindelo is mentioning that we love that what the school is currently doing, but we would love to have our children do Kiswahili. Do you guys have such an opportunity? Well, I do know that South Africa already, like Kiswahili, is being taught as a language. That was launched last year. And it's now that Nova Pioneer in South Africa, they're already learning the vernacular languages like isiZulu and all that. In future, that this is something that can be considered, because then that builds into, like the foundation of Nova Pioneer, meaning that there'll be that communication, right? And we're already seeing it in pop culture, where we're seeing a lot of South Africans singing music in Kiswahili, like Shoma Josie, and, like a lot of other people as well. So it will be really awesome if that's extended.
Thanks, Rob. We offer currently isiZulu, Setswana, and Afrikaans as part of the curriculum, and do offer at some of our campuses international languages as part of the extracurricular program. And that's really dictated by the level of interest at our at the campuses. So if there is interest to include that as part of our extracurricular offering, it's certainly something we can offer if there's enough interest from the parent body.
Beautiful. So
Rob,
yeah?
just one more thing on Swahili. During the exchange program, in 2018 when a couple of Kenyan students came to South Africa and another handful went to Kenya. When we met them in a classroom in South Africa, they taught us some Swahili, which I can't remember right now. I would love to actually recite some Swahili, but I can't remember it all. But there was one opportunity where we actually learned from each other and we're speaking different languages to each other. So there was that sort of that moment that we had, during the exchange program. And also one of the great benefits of this annual exchange program that happens, it could have happened this year, but COVID-19 has obviously diminished that possibility. But they had exchange programs in the last couple of years in my time there, and we did learn some Swahili. I won't say that it was a whole curriculum on it.
Yeah, beautiful. At least there was that introduction, so then you're able to build that curiosity further. And I'm sure now as you continue interacting, my hope is that after this call, Masejo, Philip, and Jabu, you'll continue connecting. I already connected you guys. You have each other's number, so please make sure that you're continuing to interact with each other. And there's a question to Philip is what are the positive effects beyond abilities from the automated handwash system project? I think this question is more on, aside from, like preventative measures for COVID-19, what are some of the other positive effects of the automated handwash? Like how can it be used beyond COVID-19, Philip?
Yeah, the system can be used to keep high levels of hygiene. Yeah, as we know, washing hands should not only be done during this time. Another aspect is saving on water and soap. So the system is timed. So the amount of water you use is not lost, it's not too much, and it's like the right amount that you need. For soap, the same. And so it's I say it's a positive. Yes.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. So,
And just
yeah, yeah.
and just to add, and
Mhm.
just to add, we also have the box I was talking about.
Okay.
Yeah, the small box. So that one is all positive. You can connect it to your kitchen, anywhere, like anywhere you want anything automated, showers, anywhere. Yes.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for that, Philip. I can see that we've come to the end of our time and just want to thank our lovely panelists for, like taking the time out of their busy schedule. I'm sure the things you could be doing, but, you took the time to come and talk to us. So what I'd like to do is there's a last poll that also would like to share so that to learn more about you. So please, if that can be launched, please take the time to fill it. And as you take the time to fill it, to fill the poll should be on your screens shortly. Um, I'd also just like the students are really sharing some like really words of gratitude for Jabu, Masejo, and Philip for taking the time to, just be here with them and just share, like your words of advice. I think I'd like to end on this note. And on our sixth birthday, and I'll try and make sure that, if possible, if we can share the link of the blog on the chat section, or if you could just Google Nova Pioneer turns 6. Mr. Chinezi, who's our CEO, wrote a very touching piece on the journey that has been, just like launching Nova Pioneer from having an initial class of 30 students to right now having over 2,000 students across Kenya and South Africa, and that family is continuously growing. He mentioned something that was quite powerful, that in his entire career, he feels that he was sharing that this year has been sort of like a double-edged sword. He's felt the most challenged in his career this year, yet he's also felt the most encouraged in the same context. And he shared a quote. Yes, the link has been shared on the chat, so please click on it and make sure you read it. It's very inspirational. So he shared this quote from Paulo Coelho's book, The Alchemist. And he mentioned that that book has really come through for him, especially at this point in time. There's a lot going on in the world. So this is the quote, and this goes to all the parents, all the students on the call, all the Nova Pioneer staff members, whatever designation you have as you've joined this call, this is something that you should keep remembering. No heart has ever suffered when it goes in search of its dreams, because every second of the search is a second's encounter with God and with eternity. So on that note, I'd like to repeat it again so that it lands. No heart has ever suffered when it goes in search of its dreams, because every second of the search is a second's encounter with God and with eternity. So thank you guys so much for your time. We really appreciate it. We don't take it for granted that there's over 50 of us on a call on a Friday evening. We really don't take that for granted. So thank you so much for taking the time to be with us. Jabu, Masero, Philip, thank you for sharing your stories. I hope to develop a very close friendship with you people. So I'll constantly be stalking you and, just having conversations on the side
Of course.
about how you're doing and just holding each other accountable. So it was a real pleasure having you on the call. So that brings us to the end of our session. I hoped that we were going to have the last poll, but it seems that it's not working. But so far, I feel like we've achieved, the purpose of the call. Thank you so much, and enjoy your weekend. Please keep safe. Remember to sanitize, keep that social distance. We still need you guys around. So thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. And there is no other
Thank
place
you.
we'd rather be. This was a divine moment. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Beautiful. Guys, yeah, so feel free to log off and we'll keep in touch.